Hi, I'm Debbie. Come on in. It's the 5th day of Christmas and my uncle said to me, we're back into lockdown. I just got laid off again. I don't have money for Christmas dinner. What am I going to do? And I said, I have 5 tips for you. So if this is the kind of content that interests you, subscribe to my channel and stay for the video. And even if it doesn't interest you, at least start listening to the video. Give it a chance. See if maybe there's something there that might interest you. Let's get started. Bells, be quiet. Okay, we're going to look at how to have nutritious meals on a budget. And during these 12 days of Christmas, I'm going to give you the recipes to make an inexpensive Christmas dinner. Tip number 1 is, if you cook at home, you will save money. Now, some people may love this idea, some people may hate it. But if you need to find ways to stretch your dollar, then cooking at home is a really good way to save money. And it's very logical. I worked in food plants for years. I can tell you, they're expensive operations. They have to have a building, they have to have land, they have to have equipment. The equipment's expensive. They have to have employees. There are some food plants that use robots, but very few. Most of it is tons of human beings doing the work, and they got to get paid. And there's maintenance, and there's regulatory requirements, and there's all kinds of rules to follow. So it's expensive to produce food. Whether it's cheap food or good food, it still costs more money than if you buy the raw ingredients yourself and make it yourself. So cooking at home will save you money as long as you're buying your basic raw materials and you're not buying, oh, the rice that's cooked and I'm just going to warm it up, or the frozen meal that's cooked and I'm just going to warm it up. No, I'm talking about, okay, if you want to buy a spaghetti sauce or you want to buy a flavoring agent, but I'm talking about buying basically the raw ingredients and making fast, easy, healthy. That's what I do. Fast, easy, healthy recipes at home. So that's the first tip. It will always be cheaper, and a side benefit is you control your nutrition. So there's a lot of benefits to cooking at home. Of course, if you order out once in a while, or you buy some frozen dinners or prepared pizza or something once in a while, if it doesn't kill your budget, yes, fine. Take a break from the cooking, but I will also give you lots of tips on how to have stuff ready so that when you feel like I need a break from the cooking, well, it's in the freezer. And I've already done a lot of that in a previous series of videos called How to Save Money on Your Grocery Bill. There's 10 videos. Check them out. And I'm going to do more on that same topic. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, there are some vegetables and foods that are much less expensive. So if you need to stretch your dollar, you should be buying these vegetables and eating them more often than the more expensive versions. Root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, turnip, inexpensive. Celery also is fairly inexpensive. Green cabbage and red cabbage, very inexpensive. Rice, unless you buy it prepared, but you buy raw, dry rice, very inexpensive. Dry beans, dried legumes, very inexpensive. And these are just examples. There's many others. But these are some of your basic foodstuffs that really don't cost much. They pack a wallop of nutrition, and there's lots of delicious ways to cook them. And I can hear you going, I don't like turnip. Have you ever tried roasted turnip? It's amazing. And I'm with you. Unless I mash my turnips with another vegetable, I don't like them. But mashed with vegetables or roasted, they're delicious. And all of these vegetables, beets, oh, they're such a pain. Squash, that's another one that's very inexpensive. Oh, it's so hard. Roast it first, then work with it. It's a lot easier. Tip number 3. Rice is a very good grain. So is quinoa. Quinoa is a little more expensive, but it also is a powerhouse of nutrition. Buckwheat groats, a little more expensive, but it packs a powerhouse of nutrition. And they can form a basic part of your meal. You need other stuff to go with them. They're not complete nutrition in themselves, but they are inexpensive, and they're very good ways to get to stretch your meal. Soups. Making soups at home, very nutritious and inexpensive. And most soups are super easy. There's a few that are more complicated, but most of them are super easy, and I'm going to be doing some easy soup recipes with you also in the coming months. I eat soup all the time, and I often eat it for breakfast because I just love it so much. So that's tip number 3. Let's go on to tip number 4. Cook in batches and freeze. So cook larger quantities at the same time and then freeze it in the portion size that you're going to need, depending on your family size and how much you eat at one time. It will save you time. It will also save you money, because then you can buy in larger quantities. So you can buy a bigger amount of chicken or a bigger amount of beef, or you can make a huge pot of chili and buy a large bag of beans. So it's going to save you money. Plus, if you dedicate 2 hours to, say, making a huge pot of chili, or 4 dozen hamburgers, or 4 meatloafs, or 3 casseroles, or whatever it's going to be, and then you portion it and you freeze it, that's 2 hours that you might have 20 portions to serve your family. So if you're a family of 4, that's 5 meals. If you're a family of 2, that's 10 meals. So you've done in 2 hours a lot of work that would normally otherwise take you half an hour each day, and it adds up to like 8 hours of work. So it's a much more efficient way to do your cooking, and it really cuts down on the cook time, and it also cuts down on the dishes, because you're just using a few dishes, a few pans all at once. You clean them and it's done, and you don't need to do it again for a week. If you do this 2 hours or 3 hours every week, once a week, you will have a freezer stocked with food that's then ready for you to pull out, and then you don't need to cook every day. So that's another way to use your time more efficiently, use your oven more efficiently, so spend less money on heating your oven and have a ton of nutritious, inexpensive food ready to go. Tip number 5. Now, if you've watched a few of my videos, or if you've looked at the recipes on my blog, or if you've seen some of my Facebook recipes where I cook live, then this might not totally surprise you. But if you haven't seen this stuff, this might surprise you. And I call it Plant It Up. And what it is if you make a meat dish, any kind of meat dish where you're using ground meat or chopped meat, like stew, like chili, like soup, like casserole, meatloaf, hamburgers, all of these kinds of dishes, sloppy joes. There's the sloppy joe recipe, Plant It Up sloppy joes recipe on my blog, and I'll put the link to my blog in the description below. You are going to increase your nutrition, and you are going to save money. And we're going to look at that in a minute, because vegetables, these root vegetables that I mentioned, and some of the other items I mentioned, they are not expensive. So for example, I add beans and or lentils to all my meat dishes, and I add rice and or oat flakes, and I add zucchini or some other grated inexpensive vegetable, carrot, potato, turnip. You don't taste them, but they increase the nutrition and they decrease the cost, and they also make larger, they spread it out so they make it last longer. And people used to do this a lot in the 40s and 50s. This was how they were able to stretch their dollar to feed more people at less price per portion or pound. So just look at it. Let's just look at a few prices just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. For example, white rice. Now this is based on my local grocery store. This is Canadian dollars. I'm in Quebec. Your prices may be different, but I don't think that the actual concepts would be terribly different. White rice, 48 cents a pound. White potatoes, 60 cents a pound. Green cabbage, 80 cents a pound. Carrots, $1 a pound. Yellow onions, $1 a pound. Rutabaga, $1.29 a pound. Red cabbage, $1.49, sweet potatoes, $1.79, red beets, $1.79, are really inexpensive vegetables that you can cook with, and they're all highly nutritious. Now let's look at meat. So lean ground beef in a format of 3 pounds is $3.69 a pound. But let's look at dry kidney beans. You buy a 2-pound bag, it comes out to be $1.47 a pound. More than half the cost of ground beef. You can also buy kidney beans canned. They're still cheaper. The kidney beans canned are still cheaper than the ground beef, but more expensive than the dry beans. Lentils are the same price as beans. So lentils and beans are very inexpensive, and that's why when I do hamburgers and meatloaf and casseroles and everything I mentioned, I add lentils and or beans to the recipe and vegetables, because it will decrease the cost. So let's look at the nutrition of beef, because you say, well, you know, beef's got a lot of protein, it's good for you. 3.5 ounces of beef, which is 100 grams, has 217 calories. It has 26 grams of protein and 12 grams of fat. Let's look at kidney beans. 127 calories for the same amount, 9 grams of protein, and 0 grams of fat. So I mean, look at that. Yes, so the beans have less calories, 0 fat. They have, however, so what I'm trying to really emphasize is that if you need to really stretch your food dollar, you can't just spend it however you want. There are strategies that you can use, and you can put these strategies in your toolbox. So a really quick refresh. Cooking at home will always be cheaper than buying stuff that is already prepared. Root vegetables, cabbages are less expensive than your more exotic things like tomatoes, bell peppers, lettuce, and those kind of vegetables. Rice and soups are also inexpensive and very nutritious. Cook in big batches and freeze, and add legumes and vegetables to all your meat dishes, and it will also stretch your dollar and save you money. So now for our musical performance challenge. I'm going to do another musical challenge. So this is a flute I got from my daughter when she went to Mexico, and it was a number of years ago. So I gave it a few little toots when I first got it, but I've never played it since. It went into my pile of decorative instruments. So it's a 6-hole flute. It's just a straight tube with the little valve and the little mouthpiece. Very pretty. That's not something I would play seriously, at least not at this point in time. The holes are close together compared to what I'm used to. So anyway, I have not played this, and I am going to try to play the 12 Days of Christmas on it, or at least the beginning of the tune. And I have not looked at the sheet music for the 12 Days of Christmas either, so I have no clue what I'm doing. So another musical performance challenge. Here we go. That's too high. Something's wrong. Ah, that sounds better. I wasn't totally covering a hole, that's why. See, I'm not totally covering the holes. So, it was a bust, but you gotta try. I have to say this is really hard because the holes are so close together compared to what I'm used to. And in another musical challenge, I'm going to show you the instrument I am used to. So, guys, are you happy? Was that funny? Did it make you laugh? Did it make you smile? It's our little piece of fun in this video. And if you watched yesterday's video, I told you laughter's good medicine. Fun is good for you. So, if you liked this musical performance, or even if you didn't, but if you liked the video, give me a like, subscribe to my channel, ring the bell. I didn't bring my bell. And I have a horn instead. And share this video with your friends. Be safe, be well, Stay home. Wear a mask, please. The numbers are so high. And I'm going to say goodbye. See you tomorrow, I hope, in my next video.